Two words that best describe my guest today are song stylist, blending jazz, pop, and blues. Nancy Wilson has entertained audiences with her unique voice since winning a talent show at the age of 15. That led to television and nightclub appearances and an extraordinary career that flourishes to this day. Her brand new CD, RSVP, Rare Songs, Very Personal, is set to be released next week and features songs that she has always enjoyed but never quite got around to recording. It is a pleasure to welcome Nancy Wilson with us by telephone today. Nancy, thanks for being with us. How are you?
Oh, I'm just fine. How are you this morning?
Great. Yeah, we've been enjoying your CD. We luckily got an advanced copy of it on our Sunday night show, and
okay.
It's really a wonderful collection of standards. How did this project come about?
Basically, when we did the Christmas album a year and a half or so ago, actually it'll be 2 years in a minute that it came out, we had talked about doing this, and I love the collection of musicians on it. I'm just so pleased to have had George Shearing be able to come in, Toots Thielman, and I love Yvonne Lenz. You know, it's just marvelous, you know.
Yeah, you do have some wonderful...
Kenny Lattimore. I mean,
sure.
It's just a beautiful collection of people.
Paquito de Rivera and Bill Watrous.
Paquito, yeah.
Yeah.
It was really, as I heard it, you know, because I did it with rhythm initially, and then, of course, I was in the studio with Toots, and I was in the studio with most of them, and Kenny, but some of the things were added afterward, and I just loved it.
It really is a good cross-section of standards and maybe some of the less well-known standards. That
right.
I was surprised. A couple of them I look at it, I thought you had recorded a couple of those, but I guess you hadn't. None of these you've ever recorded before. Is that right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. But we just heard a little bit of Little Green Apples. We'll be playing a little bit of that later on today. That's the great O.C. Smith song.
The great O.C. Smith song. O.C. was my pastor.
I saw that. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know he was a pastor.
Yes. Oh, has a City of Angels church here in Los Angeles.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And he's been a personal friend for many years. So, and I miss him. So I wanted to do that for him. That
was a huge hit, I guess, late 60s that came out originally, and
right.
It really, you could call that a standard, obviously. And Why Did I Choose You? That was another one that I enjoyed.
I heard it by Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye, right. You do that with Kenny Lattimore on there. And
he does a beautiful job.
Also, kind of an up-tempo. You have a big band type of number with Day In and Day Out. That's with an all-star big band. That's a Dizzy
Gillespie alumni all-star band.
Right, yeah, sounds great. And you mentioned George Shearing before. He continues to just amaze people, doesn't he?
So precious, yes.
Yeah, and doing a great job. Now, this is your first CD, in 2 years, you said, since the Christmas album?
Yes.
And
well, there's been one since then. The Ramsey Lewis Simple Pleasures album came out earlier this year.
Right, and you'll be touring with Ramsey in the next few weeks, aren't you?
We have several more dates left, yes.
Yeah, I know you're doing primarily the Midwest. I guess you're doing the next one in Cincinnati on the 28th, is that right?
Cincinnati, Albuquerque.
And
then there's several things out here in the L.A. area, Tucson, Birmingham, Illinois, Chicago, back to Los Angeles.
You'll be busy for a while.
Washington, Pennsylvania, and Brazil. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good tour. I know you said you're trying to cut back a little bit.
That's it. When I said Brazil, there's nothing else on the schedule after that.
That's it. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can convince you maybe sometime to head down toward the Sarasota area. We'd love to see you down here.
When I said that's it.
That's it for good?
There's nothing else on the schedule.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
I've been working on trying to get that schedule to where the last page had nothing on it for quite a while.
Is that right?
Yes.
Any more recordings in the works? Maybe a volume 2 of RSVP?
I spoke to one of the producers the other day, and he was talking about just doing a ballad album, because I'm basically I love the drama of ballads.
Mm-hmm.
So that would take quite some, because I went through hundreds of songs looking for these songs in the last album. When you realize that I have about around 73 releases out, it's hard to find another 12 tunes.
Sure. Yeah,
I know they're there.
You've covered so many of them. I guess it is difficult to find something that you haven't done before, maybe a new version of it.
Right.
Now, I know our audience, on our Sunday night program, we feature a lot of this type of music. Of course, your CD is part of that now. But when you hear a Nancy Wilson song, you really get a feel for the lyrics, and that's always, I think, been your strong
That's
point.
what I do.
You
is
sell the
tell
lyric
stories.
as well as anybody, if not the best. Is that something you look for when choosing material, the lyric?
It's all about the lyric.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
What do you look for particularly? Something that just tells a great story?
A great story.
And hits emotionally, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah. And, well, your style, you just mentioned song stylist, which, with rare exceptions today, I don't think you hear too many great song stylists anymore. I mean, I guess Nora Jones, you could consider her in the newer breed of being a song stylist.
Mm-hmm.
But
there are some who are, but the problem is they don't get the kind of push that songs with hooks and
right.
drum beats and whatnot get.
Yeah,
but there are people who are still trying to tell stories and making music.
Pop music is tough to do that because they try and get it as commercial as possible, and the lyric sometimes falls by the wayside when they do that, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. And we're talking with Nancy Wilson here on the Suncoast Midday Magazine. And I guess your breakout hit for you was kind of an unusual song talking about great lyrics, was Guess Who I Saw Today, wasn't it?
Exactly, yes. I've been singing that song, I guess since I was 15, which is kind of, 50-some years ago. It's from New Faces of 1952. I heard it by Carmen McRae.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It was in her By a Special Request album. And I found out later that Edie Gourmet had recorded it, but it was the song that basically did everything for me. It got me my recording deal. And it was a song that everybody loved, That was one of the best stories ever told, and it remains very popular. I mean, if I don't sing it, I hear about it, believe me.
Right. Well, it has that little kind of surprise ending to it, too. I mean, It carries you along through the whole song, and then the last line, we won't give it away, but it has that little ending where I think people are surprised if they've never heard it before.
Right.
But, yeah, wonderful song. And, of course, Capitol Records, you've recorded so many albums with them, and second in sales all time, just to the Beatles. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well,
I know you
Yeah,
probably want.
I
I know you want to be honest
little
about
no
it.
attention to that.
I know, but that's amazing. I mean, they were so popular in the '60s, and then just being a close second, that's pretty good. Capitol Records, of course, had so many wonderful artists like yourself, and
Marvelous.
Sinatra, and Nat King
Stable,
Cole.
it was the best. It was a singer's label. Peggy Lee, Nat Cole. They had Dakota Staten at that time too, and Tennessee Ernie Ford. I mean, it was a beautiful. Singers could always count on Capitol to deliver. Capitol was owned and run by people who knew the music, and that was the good thing about it. Everybody involved in it were musical, and that was consequently they respected the music.
What was it like working there? I mean, they actually recorded most of those with live orchestras right there, didn't they?
Oh yes,
Which is unusual nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, but that must have been a wonderful
I record
experience.
live with the musicians today, with at studio in Pittsburgh at MCG, but everything was done with everybody there.
Just want to remind the folks, RSVP is on the Telarc label. If you're interested in finding more about that, you can actually, it'll be in all the record stores, but you can go to your website too, can't they, to get more information on that?
Yes.
At MissNancyWilson.com.
Uh-huh. MISS.
That's right, MISS, NancyWilson.com.
Right.
Wonderful website, by the way. Good information on there. And I guess everybody has to kind of move into that area. I guess when you started out, nobody would even think of promoting themselves via the Internet, but I'm sure it helps, doesn't it?
Lynn knows all about that. I've had a website for many years.
Yeah.
But I think basically it's radio, doing interviews like this. It's and we still get a lot of print press.
Sure.
And but I do feel that people I rarely go online and go to a website for something like that, but people do, and so I'm glad. That's why I'm glad that we've had one, and I have to give kudos to Lynn Coles because she really handles it and does a good job with it.
It's really a great marketing tool for singers, obviously, because you can hear pieces of their recordings.
Pieces,
sure.
right.
Yeah, wonderful marketing tool.
Yes.
And